It was a day like any other, until it wasn't. Hundreds of passengers boarded their flights unaware that they would never reach their destination. No storm, no technical failure, just silence, fog, and a tragic misunderstanding. What happened on that runway in Tenerife would become the darkest day in aviation history. A moment when two giants of the sky collided, and 583 lives were lost in seconds. This is not just a story of a crash. It's a story of voices unheard, mistakes uncorrected, and the painful lessons that changed aviation forever. There are moments in history when time seems to stop, moments that change the course of entire industries, moments where silence follows the sound of unimaginable tragedy. On March 27, 1977, the peaceful skies over the Canary Islands were shattered. Two of the largest aircraft in the world collided on a fog-covered runway, leading to the deadliest accident in aviation history. This is not just the story of a crash. It is the story of miscommunication, human error, weather, and the lessons paid for with 583 lives. This is the story of Tenerife disaster. It was an ordinary Sunday. KLM Flight 4805 and Pan Am Flight 1736, both Boeing 747s, were heading to Gran Canaria Airport. But earlier that day, a terrorist bomb exploded in the terminal there, forcing inbound flights to be diverted to the smaller Los Rodeos Airport on Tenerife. Los Rodeos wasn't built to handle heavy international traffic. Its single runway and short taxiways were suddenly overwhelmed with aircraft. The tarmac was crowded, and tension was building. As delays stretched on, the weather began to shift. Fog rolled in. Visibility dropped rapidly. Communication between pilots and air traffic control became more difficult, and deadly misunderstandings began to form. Eventually, the bomb threat cleared. Pan Am and KLM were both cleared to return to Gran Canaria. But before they could depart, the airport's crowded conditions forced an unusual situation. Both 747s would have to taxi down the same runway to prepare for takeoff. KLM taxied first, lining up at the end of the runway. Pan Am followed behind, instructed to exit the runway at the third taxiway. But in the thick fog, they missed the exit. They were still on the runway. In the cockpit of the KLM 747, the captain, experienced and respected, was growing impatient. He misunderstood a radio transmission and believed they had clearance for takeoff. Without confirming visually or verbally, he advanced the throttles. The massive KLM jet roared down the runway directly toward the still-moving Pan Am aircraft. In the fog, neither crew saw each other until it was far too late. The Pan Am crew spotted landing lights through the mist and tried desperately to turn off the runway. The KLM pilots saw the silhouette ahead and tried to take off early to fly over the other plane, but it was impossible. The KLM's underbelly slammed into the top of the Pan Am, tearing it apart in a fiery explosion. Both planes burst into flames. All 248 people on board the KLM flight died. 335 passengers and crew on Pan Am were also killed. Only 61 people survived, all from the front section of the Pan Am aircraft. The aviation world was shaken to its core. Investigations revealed a tragic chain of errors: misheard words, radio overlap, impatience, fog, and poor procedures. But out of this terrible loss came lasting change. The Tenerife disaster led to the widespread adoption of Crew Resource Management, CRM, a system of communication and decision-making that empowers all flight crew members to speak up. It also revolutionized air traffic control communication, requiring standard phraseology like "cleared for takeoff" to prevent ambiguity. The Tenerife disaster wasn't just the worst crash. It became the most studied event in aviation safety. Every safety protocol, every checklist, and every cockpit conversation today echoes the lessons learned from that day. March 27, 1977 will never be forgotten, not by the families, not by the industry, and not by the skies. A silent runway on a foggy island taught the world to speak more clearly.